back, Tiny Leaders lovers. We played a few games with these guys, and if you want more Tiny Leaders, please let us know. Today, though, we're playing Two-Headed Giant, featuring a team of Rob and Kyle. Kyle is playing Jori En, the Ruin Diver, who is Izzet spell slinging. Things like Young Pyromancer, blue for permission and card draw, and red for direct damage. His teammate is Rob playing his Animar Soul Elements deck. And if you've seen Josh's silly Animar deck on this channel before, don't worry, this isn't Josh's deck. I think Rob is going a morph route. They're going up against a team of Bryan playing his Jenara, Asura of War deck, who I guess is mainly Bant good stuff, and also myself once again playing my Geist of Saint Traft. This is your typical competitive Geist deck.
Alright, let's do it!
Rob and Kyle win the die roll and choose to play first. No draw for their first turn. But a Delver of Secrets from Kyle. Tapped lands from Bryan and I. Kyle's Delver flips immediately on turn 2, and 3 damage to us. No other plays. Turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic from me, fetching a sword, and Mistimota Witch from Bryan. That Stoneforge Mystic does some work in this game. Now I remember Bryan's playing a Rune of the Hidden Realm type deck, but the Tiny Leaders version of it. Actual literal baby Jace from Kyle, and another 3 damage in the air. Animar, Soul of Can't Be Killed from Rob. On our turn 3, Bryan stops hitting land drops. This becomes an issue this game. I play land and we pass. Kyle Mystical Tutors at our end step for Stagger Shock. Rob cast the super powerful Wake Thrasher. They attack and I Vapor Snag Animar back to Rob's hand. Bryan then swords the Plowshares, the Insectile Aberration. I forge Sora Fire and Ice into play at their end step. Bryan finally gets a third land and I go to equip my SFM when Kyle Stagger Shocks it in response, but Memory Lapse is at the ready. I then attack, shock the Wake Thrasher and draw a card. Bygone Bishop from Bryan. On their turn, Rob casts Animar, Cloud of Fairies, and a face-down creature. Jori En, the Ruin Diver, from Kyle, but no second spell for the turn. On our turn, Bryan gets his 4th mana and I cast Spirit Mantle on my Mystic in lieu of Geist, and also Honor of the Pure. I connect with the Mystic, and the sword shoots the Jace before it can flip. Rob plays 2 more face-down creatures on his turn. They attack with everything, and Bryan flashes out Snapcaster Mage to recast the Swords of Plowshares in his yard, but Kyle again goes to Stagger Shock something and draws a card for a second spell of the turn, drawing into Remand, and then remands the Swords of Plowshares. That was such a hot play. There are few things better than remanding flashback cards. Bryan blocks 2 of Rob's creatures, and Rob flips the face-down creature to reveal Hooded Hydra. We take 7 damage from unblocked commanders. With the other team being tapped out, I cast Sword of Feast and Famine and attack Rob for 6 damage, with him discarding his last card. I then randomly shoot one of his face-down creatures, which reveals Rattleclaw Mystic. That was not the one to get. I untap and then cast Detention Sphere on the Hooded Hydra, and Bryan casts Fiend Hunter to exile Jori En, which Kyle puts back in his command zone. We take 1 damage when Bryan taps his Brush land. Bryan now has 2 clues from the Bygone Bishop. Rebounded Stagger Shock on their turn deals us 2 damage directly, and Rob casts another free face-down creature. He then megamorphs his Den Protector to return Wake Thrasher to hand, which he then recasts. They attack, and I flash out an SCM of my own to Vapor Snag Animar back to hand, but Rob is ready with the Willbender to bounce Bygone Bishop instead. We lose 1 life. Kyle then Izzet Charms, killing my mage, and we take 10 damage since we can't block. On our turn, I Sleight of Hand to get more spells into my yard, and then cast Rune Chanter's Pike and equip it to my Voltron Stoneforge Mystic. I go to attack, and Kyle and Rob debate which sword is worse to have connect with them. After a lengthy debate, they decide they don't want me to untap, so Kyle Chaos Warps my Sword of Feast and Famine. Chaos Warp gets me Tundra, which is almost as good as untapping. They take 6 damage. Sophie takes out the Merfolk, and I draw and play Tectonic Edge. They are 1 damage away from lethal with Animar next turn, so Bryan and I make the unfortunate decision to cast Council's Judgment, which is a double-edged sword in a game of Two-Headed Giant. Bryan and I both choose Animar, and then they both vote for Sword of Fire and Ice. Since I still have a creature, I pass without casting my commander. Bryan only having 4 lands is starting to hurt us. Rob goes to combat with Den Protector, and I unexpectedly absent it for 1. Death Mist Raptor from Rob. Kyle's stuck at 6 lands, and I'm pretty sure he has Cyclonic Rift. He instead casts Prophetic Flame Speaker. On our turn, Bryan continues to draw dead, and I cast a Geist of Saint Traft. I then attack for 6 with the Stoneforge and re-equip the Pike to my commander so that I can block stuff. I then Tech Edge Kyle's Boilerworks to keep him off Cyclonic Rift mana, and he flashes in Vendilion and Click. Looking at my hand but not taking anything, that ends up being a mistake. They then attack for 3 with the Click since they can't get through on ground, and Kyle plays a Brainstorm, noting our life total. Another Animar cast from Rob. On our turn, I then cast Spectral Flight on my Geist, and then attack for over 13 damage since they can't block, and they don't have any flyers. Winning the game for Bryan and I, and Geist of Saint Traft. There you have it. Bryan did do some work that game, but it really was the Geist that carried the majority of it. Animar being so pro-removal is always relevant. Geist and Jenara came out the game strong, but mid-game Animar and Jori made a real comeback, and were within 1 damage of winning the game since Kyle revealed Chain of Lightning off the Brainstorm and he could have cast it. He was hoping Bryan used the Brushland one more time first. That Stoneforge Mystic did so much damage. Never underestimate that guy. Well, that's it for now. The next game we played was sideboarded, featuring the same matchup, and just as intense as this one, if not more so. Alright guys, and women too, stay cool, stay clone. Alright.
Go ahead, Tristan.
We win. So I can do well over 13 damage. They have nothing on the field. No cards in hand. You have how many cards, Kyle?
2.
2? They got a counterspell or something.
Sure.
So why don't I go all in, and then you keep back just in case they do happen to have something.
Yeah, I got blockers.
Okay. Spectral Flight. Go to combat.
So how big? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep.
Yeah, this game.
Attack. Angel. So 5/5. This guy attacks for 3.
Yep, that's game.
Damn.
Whew.
I
That could drop you to 1.
With
Yeah.
what?
He had chain lightning all
Mana leak.
Hey, look,
game. Yeah, that was not the counter spell we wanted to draw.
I drew multiple double blue.
Bryan, man.
I'm helping.
That was brutal. I got so close.